Hey, good morning. Happy Wednesday, March 24th, 2021. I hope your day's off to a great start. This is Morning Joey with me, your host, Joey Molinaro. Thanks for waking up with me. Sun's out and shining in Indianapolis. It was dreary, it was rainy yesterday, but we're all good here now, man. We're getting over that day after, the day after the hungover feel with the hoops. So we don't got to worry about that. We're feeling better. We're onwards to Saturday. Actually got tickets to go to the Sweet 16 game on Saturday, so looking forward to that. I think I'm seeing Loyola Chicago, so I'll try to get a selfie or a video with Sister Jean or something. Happy's being insane this morning, so apologize if I have to run downstairs and make sure he's not shitting everywhere. Morning, Tal Bill. But the boy's being a little crazy. So I'm hoping that he comes up and just naps next to me like he typically does. But right now, that hasn't been the case so far this morning. But, man, my hair is looking actually really good. I'm not going to lie. I think it's this hat. It's this Pittsburgh hat that I got that, it fits my head right. It lets my hair lay. It's good. Reminder, the merch in the description. So we have the Energy, Effort, Intensity. We got Coach Burns that's still available on the Barstool Sports store as well. Look at this. Simple, very comfy. And then, of course, what I introduced yesterday, very simple as well, but a very important reminder. People are buying these up. It's not company time. It's tournament time. If you're in the office right now, if you were in the office yesterday, or if you're working over Zoom and, your boss is making, crappy, cheesy jokes about the tournament and stuff, just remind them, hey, not company time, or remind them, him or her. It's not company time. It's tournament time. White version, black version as well. Get that link to buy in the description below. Be sure you subscribe to the channel. We continue to put out more new content every single day. Chopped up interviews, sketches that I do. Obviously, we go live every single morning at 9 a.m. Subscribe to get those reminders, and let's keep growing this thing. So subscribe, share these videos, like this video, wake up with me every morning like you have been doing. It's been a lot of fun. So we have that. We're going to get into one news for one Steelers wide receiver here in a second. But a reminder that also we have the One Last Ride t-shirt linked to buy below as well. Juju, Big Ben in the Corvette. So make sure you get that before we hop into 2021. Great show today. Steven Cheah, my buddy, my co-host on Going Deep, he is dropping his NFL Mock Draft 3.0 today at 10 a.m. So you're going to get a little bit of a sneak preview here this morning at 9:30 when he hops on. We're going to discuss why he has certain people going certain places, his thoughts on Devontae Smith, what my Steelers should do. Everybody loves some mock drafts, right? We're getting to that point. We're almost a little over a month out from the NFL draft. Everybody is really ramping up the NFL mock draft talk. And so I got to have Barstool's expert, Barstool's mock draft guy, an NFL guy, Steven Cheah, to come on and talk. And so he's going to do that coming up around 9:30. So be sure to stick around for that as well. Really looking forward to a good, fun debate, football conversation with him. The other thing I love about Steven is he has his opinions, but he's not a douche about them. And he has his opinions for a reason. It's because he's super smart. He does the work. He does the research. He knows what he's talking about. So, whenever he has a football take or has a mock draft that he drops, that he's going to be coming with something that there's a rightful reason for why he feels that way. So we're going to talk with him about 9:30. Really looking forward to that. Big news out of Indiana. I know that I have, all my family and friends are most of my family and friends are in Indiana. I know that I probably have a decent following coming from Indiana, considering this is my home state and my home city being Indianapolis. And yesterday, we got the news that the vaccine for COVID is going to be available March 31st. So next week, I think, the end of next week. Yeah, no, a week from today. A week from today, March 31st, in Indiana, vaccine available for everybody over the age of 16. 16 years old. It sounds like they're, really ramping up. We're trying to get ready for May. we're making sure that we can be back in the Coke lot and the Snake Pit and have ourselves a regular month of May. Because everybody who, is over 16, 17 years old is usually a demographic that starts going out there and having fun and partying it up at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway come May. But the vaccine going to be available for those over 16, and the mask requirement is going to become, instead of a requirement, it's going to become an advisory on April 6th. So I think that goes for restaurants and businesses. But they did say that in Indiana, the K through 12 schools are going to keep the same mandate for masks through the end of the school year. And so I mean, I'm not a newsy political guy. That's not why you follow me. It's not why you watch the show. It's not why, and so I know that. And I'm not going to, have any takes or, spew any opinions or anything like that. I'm simply relaying the information, saying that it feels like there could be kind of a light at the end of the tunnel if we're doing all of these things to kind of lift from what we've been at with COVID. So March 31st, those in Indiana over 16, a week from today, you're going to be able to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Very, very exciting. Very, very exciting. In the news release, it says, quote, the state's mask mandate will become a mask advisory starting April 6th. Governor Eric Holcomb said K through 12 schools will keep their existing mask requirements through the end of the school years. Face coverings will remain mandatory in state buildings and facilities and at coronavirus vaccination and testing sites. Okay, so yeah, mandatory at the places that you would think would be mandatory, but then, we get into, I think, kind of the bar, restaurant, shopping type of thing, your regular social life and feel. And then it's just going to become advisory. I guess you want to wear the mask, wear a mask. If you don't, you don't, according to the government, right? According to the government, not from my mouth, from their mouth. So, yeah, light at the end of the tunnel, maybe. Hopefully, we're knocking on wood, man. We're knocking on wood. Kind of dropped out of nowhere on a Tuesday. I feel like all of a sudden, in a week. Oh, okay, fine, cool with me. Let's hop into triple shot. First pump. Chase Claypool. Woke up to it this morning. Was at a bar fight in California about a week ago. TMZ Sports got video from somebody who was out there. They're outside of the bar, and you see Claypool kind of pushing, shoving, clearing things out, and then he drops a kick to a guy's head when he's on the ground. Not the best look on a Wednesday morning for a guy and for a team that has had a lot of bullshit and drama surrounding especially that position group, right? From TMZ Sports, a 22-year-old who just wrapped up a sensational rookie campaign was at the Wild Goose Tavern in Costa Mesa, California with some friends on March 13th when things popped off with another group of patrons. Sources tell us there was an issue involving someone throwing dollar bills at a woman inside the bar, which sparked an argument. I mean, you're not really going to get away with that. I don't really know what they were expecting there for, them just come shake their hand and say, hey, thanks for, throwing dollar bills at my friend here. And eventually things moved outside. We're told Chase was, all caps, not an instigator. But as you can see in the video, things started to get out of control, and Chase jumped into the action to help one of his buddies. NFL star gets in the middle of the action where one of the combatants was wrestling on the ground, and Claypool delivers a swift kick to the face. Eventually, Chase's pals remove him from the fracas, while people yelled at him to stand back and keep his distance. We're told both parties ultimately left the scene without further incident. The Costa Mesa police confirmed they received a call for a fight at that location, but when officers arrived, security told them the parties involved had already left. Nobody's been arrested or charged with a crime. Unclear if the guy who got kicked plans on taking action, but people close to Chase tell us he was just trying to protect his friend in a chaotic situation like anyone would do. We reach out to Claypool for comment, but so far nothing back. And they just give us stats. So, I mean, that was last weekend. That was the 13th. That was what a lot of people were celebrating St. Patty's weekend with. And I mean, this was happening, I'm sure, a lot of places across the country. And I'm not going to sit on, like my buddy Dave Damashek would say, sit on Mount Pius and look down on this judgment of Claypool being a 22-year-old kid who's a millionaire, who's an NFL star, who had his life changed immensely in the last year, and is out with his buddies and doing what a 22-year-old would do on a St. Patty's weekend and having fun and enjoying some drink. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit here like I'm sure a lot of the people in the Pittsburgh media and some older folks, and some people make it out to be. Again, is it not a great look? No. Does he have to start realizing more self-awareness in situations like that where you're like, hey, I know that I'm just a 22-year-old kid and I'm doing what other 22-year-old kids would do, but at the same time, you're not just another 22-year-old kid. You're a kid who scored 11 touchdowns in the NFL and popped off his rookie year and gained a supreme following and is playing for one of the biggest sports franchises in the world. And I think they don't have to be mutually exclusive. I think one hand, you can sit here and not be on Mount Pius and look down and talk about how much of a diva he is. But then also at the same time, like I just said, understand that this needs to be a learning experience for him, and he needs to know that he's not just like every other 22-year-old. He can do what 22-year-olds do, but he's not just like every other 22-year-old kid. Anytime that anything like this goes down, anytime that he's out, anytime that anybody like him is out and about, hell, it's something that, to be honest with you, it's something that, is weird for me that I don't even realize sometimes. And, I don't play for the Steelers, but, the company that I work for and the amount of followers that I've been lucky enough to attain, sometimes it's easy for me to forget when I'm out at a local spot in Indy or wherever it is, and I'm with buddies and I'm just having a great time like everybody else in the place is doing. It's hard for me to remember that, man, one slip up, if I were to get in a fight like this or if something like that was to happen or I was to make a scene at the bar, somebody's definitely probably going to be whipping out their phone. And if at the very least, they're going to be talking. So it's a weird balance. It's a weird transition for somebody like Chase to, he in his mind, he's just being in the right to break something up and then help his buddy. But again, he's got to realize he's not just 22-year-old Chase Claypool who's out in California St. Patrick's Day weekend. He's 22-year-old Chase Claypool who is an NFL star now and has made a brand for himself that everybody knows. That's kind of the downside of people like him and people like Juju and people like Odell Beckham and these guys who have really mastered, Gronk, these guys who have really mastered growing their brand and being such a public face because of how well they handle YouTube and social media and everything like that, they're putting themselves out there. They're visible. Everybody knows who they are because of that and what they do for a living. But then it's, a catch-22. Is it catch-22 or catch-2020? I still cannot figure out that fucking saying. It's a double-edged sword. We'll stick with that one because you do that. But then when you're out in a situation like this and you're just trying to, in your mind, do what's right and defend your friend because of how public you are and because of how everybody knows who you are now, and a lot doing because of how you put yourself out there, then they're automatically going to be whipping out their phone and they're going to do everything they can to try to get it on TMZ, to try to get shows like me to talk about it, to try to rile up the Pittsburgh media. So, I don't think that this is something that I don't think this is something that what people have already seen on Twitter and especially in Pittsburgh are going to make it into. Yes, should he have not kicked somebody on the ground? Absolutely shouldn't have done that. Should he add more self-awareness to be able to say, hey, I'm going to try to break things up. I'm going to try to be here for my friend, but I'm not going to take actions to put me in the worst kind of light? Yes. But at the same time, I don't think this is something to where you have to say, oh, man, now we're on a downward spiral and he's going to, cause problems in the locker room and he's going to be a distraction. I'm not saying any of that. I totally disagree with that. The dude was the best deep threat, the best playmaker the Steelers had on offense this past year as a rookie with no training, no OTAs, no offseason at all, not a normal offseason coming into his rookie year. I can only imagine what he's going to do. Hopefully, if things get back to more of a normal offseason and he continues to grow into that role. But I just think, somebody told me one time that there's too much or in the world. It's either this or that. One thing or another. There needs to be more and. I think this is a perfect example of and. Like I said, he was in the wrong for doing what he's doing. And also, it's a learning experience for him to be able to say, okay, I understand that I'm not just college kid Chase Claypool or some guy like my buddies who, frankly, no one cares if they get into a bar fight because there's plenty of bar fights going on around St. Patty's Day weekend all across the country. But they do care if it's Chase Claypool. That's all I'm saying. Morning, Jerky. Morning, John. Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, I don't know if it's the hat or what. Travis, good morning. Got my cup of coffee, clean Pirates hat. Thank you so much. Good morning, guys. Appreciate it. HoovTube, yeah, I got these from going deep. The circle glasses. I didn't like them at first. They're a little bit weird, but once you get used to them, they're all right. They're all right. From David, on his rookie vlogs, he seems like a decent guy. Talking about Claypool, I'm sure his management team will discuss with him. Yeah, absolutely. And you can go back. I interviewed Chase for 25 minutes on my show in the fall. It's on this channel. I'll post it later today. He's a great kid. He's 22 years old. He's a star. He's an amazing football player. He's self-aware enough to be able to continue to grow his brand, but at the same time, that doesn't exclude him from being somebody who's learning. So we're not gonna. I consider Chase Claypool I wouldn't say friend. We're not to that level yet, but I've talked with him. He's been on my show, and I feel like I have a good grasp of what kind of dude he is. So I'm not going to make it into some big thing of bashing Chase Claypool and how he's going to be a problem and nonsense like that. Just learn from it. Your team will talk with you, like you said. I'm sure people like Juju and people will talk with you, but learn from it, and that's all you can do, man. Worst things that you could have been doing. From Travis, totally agree. The world isn't black and white. There's always an and. Exactly. Too much either or. You could say, Chase, you're wrong. Shouldn't have kicked him. And we're going to learn from this, and we're going to get better from it. All right. From JP, Steelers had AB. They know how to deal with people who have worse problems than getting into a bar fight. Exactly. And what's funny is that all the people in Pittsburgh who are, in the media, have been around for a while, are going to make Claypool out to just be this, a devious monster, I'm sure. But how quickly they forget that, the Steelers of the 70s, and I'm sure even the Steelers of the 90s, and, especially the Steelers of the 70s. I mean, imagine what those guys were doing after, win at Three Rivers Stadium and going out and about in town. But it's just a different time to where it wasn't really accessible. We didn't have everything we had to be able to record everything, So Chase is going to be fine. All right. It's going to be fine. He didn't instigate it. He was just trying to clear things up. Testosterone, booze, that's all a problem. Mix them together. That's never a good thing, right? It's always going to cause problems. But I think he'll learn from this, and I'm confident he'll be all right. From Edward, thanks. Yeah, 22, dude. I mean, he's barely tasted alcohol legally for the first time, I mean, he's a baby. Well, it's like, it reminds me of it's a pretty cheesy movie, so you can make fun of me if you think it is. I think it's a good one, though. Perks of Being a Wallflower. And there's this line where he says, and we'll grow up and we'll forget what it's like to be 16 when we're 17. And, I think it's something that we all got to work on a little bit. Like, I try to work on that with my sister who's 19, help my wife who's even 25. Like, it's so easy to be at the state you are in your life and look at people, especially who are younger than you, and judge them forgetting what you were like when you were 22 or when you were 16 or when you were 19. So I think you got to have a little bit of that in that as well. Again, with still acknowledging that he shouldn't have kicked the guy in the head on the ground, but at the same time, you can't just sit on Mount Pius like my buddy Damashek says and look down judgment on him. You have to have a little bit of that and in there. All right. Little lighter note. Shot number 2. We'll pump this in. So there's apparently going to be, there's reports that there's going to be a special guest perhaps making his way to Indianapolis due to a certain conference that he is very, very proud of. And by now, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. And it broke last night. It didn't break, but it was just tweeted last night by Ben Bulk. He's a LA Times UCLA beat writer. And he tweeted last night, just spoke with Larry Scott. Excuse me. Damn. Just spoke with Larry Scott, the commissioner of the Pac-12. He'll be in Indianapolis for all the Pac-12 Sweet 16 games. And he said he had a, quote, sneaking suspicion that CBS or Turner would get a hold of Bill Walton sometime over the weekend. There we go. Bill Walton. Maybe making his way. Maybe having him on the broadcast in a tie-dye shirt for all his Pac-12 teams. All right. Now we're talking. This is getting interesting. I can dig it. And there's a lot of people that I see that are in the replies that, you know, he is so 50-50 divided amongst Bill Walton. You get seriously, somebody tweets something about how he's going to be on a call. Probably close to half of them are going to be like, oh, man, this is going to be, you know, comedy gold. Love it. I can't wait. And then the rest of them are just completely, you know, like this guy, Straight Talk Sports replies, he's insufferable. If he's on, I'm turning it off. I don't care if it's a championship game. Like, hey, guy, relax. Like, all this is entertainment, right? All these games, the tournament, all of it's entertainment. Who's more entertaining and at least interesting and just what the hell than Bill Walton? Nobody. So these like hardo basketball dudes or like sports fan guys that all wear their hats backwards and have like Oakley sunglasses on who get so worked up. God, Bill Walton, I can't stand him. Dude, chill out. He's a hell of a lot more interesting than the majority of the broadcasters you have on here that are, you know, trying so hard to be Mr. Broadcaster and here's why this happened and this happened for this reason. And give me Bill Walton, man. Will Law says, that's a lie. Of course he'll still watch. Right. You know, it's like my dad every year since, man, I mean, as long as I can remember, you know, when it's the AFC Championship, we'll turn. And, really? I don't think I'm going to watch the Super Bowl. I don't think I can watch that. New England again? I don't think I can watch the Super Bowl. I think I'm not doing it this year. 2 weeks later, hit me up. Hey, we grilling out for this? We want pizza? What do we want? Happens every time. From Anthony Mills, as long as it's not him and Pash, because he just attacks Pash the whole game. Yeah, God love Dave Pash, man. He needs to have a little bit of a signing bonus or something going on over there because the dude has to put up with a lot of bullshit when it comes with Walton. Not bullshit, but it's like that's just a more difficult task than what a majority of people who do broadcasts have to deal with. Just because not only do you have to, successfully and correctly broadcast a game that you're seeing in front of you, but then also you got to play this tennis match with this guy who is just trying to do everything he can to disrupt what's going on, all while it's still being entertainment value for the audience. It's a tough thing, man. It's a tough thing for sure. Anthony says again, going back to the Chase Claypool thing, what happened with Joey Porter when he got in a bar fight? Yeah, I mean, like, Steelers have a pretty strong history of that. Joey Porter, Todd Haley, Tequila Cowboy, baby. Shout out. That's actually a pretty cool place. I like it. Good food. Good beers. Yeah, Chris Bradley, how about those Eagles? I don't know if you're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, but I know they signed Joe Flacco yesterday, so that's pretty interesting, I think. Like, it was just bounced around so much in the last few years. So he'll back up Jalen Hurts. But, yeah, looking like Bill Walton might be coming to Indy for the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight. So very excited. All the people out there, take off your Oakleys, turn your hat around, take that off as well, Like, cover up your barbed wire tattoo on your shoulder. It's all right. Bill Walton's funny. All right? He's interesting. Let it go. Third shot here. We'll pump it before we get in with Steven Cheah. So to Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Man, they're having a rough go here the last few days, right? Guy tweeted out a picture that had like cinnamon drizzled shrimp tails, it looked like, and his Cinnamon Toast Crunch box. And, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, of course, responds. I'm going to pull up because I know that I think Nate or somebody blogged about it on Barstool Sports. Yeah, it was Nate. They responded back to this guy. After further investigation with our team that closely examined the image, it appears to be an acclimation of the cinnamon sugar that sometimes can occur when ingredients aren't thoroughly blended. We assure you there's no possibility of cross-contamination with shrimp. And I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, but I'm going to show you here. And it looks a lot like shrimp. The guy says, okay, well, after further investigation with my eyes, these are cinnamon-coated shrimp tails, you weirdos. I wasn't all that mad until now you tried to gaslight me. Yeah, I mean, tough to argue there, man. I mean, honestly, you know what I think he has to do? I think he just has to eat it. I think he has to eat it and see what it is. Because we could do this, he said, they said, she said, they said all day about, well, that's our ingredients mixed up there. That's not shrimp tails, but it looks like shrimp tails. So either he needs to do take a little bite taste test to prove this thing, or we're just going to keep going back and forth with this, because you're not going to convince Cinnamon Toast Crunch that it is shrimp tails, and you're not going to convince this guy that it's not shrimp tails. I don't know. I guess there's a lot of weird shit that goes into different foods, and that, you had the Wendy's, like the finger in the chili and everything. And so it could be worse, shrimp tails. Yeah. It's like, at least it's not like some feces or a body part or who the hell knows? Yeah. Andrew says, wild how they said it was sugar accumulation. Yeah, it's a lot of sugar there, man. I don't know. Why is the chat still? That's been annoying. No, JP. Can't wear my Oakleys in Indy this weekend. No Oakleys, dude. Go to the gas station and get some cheap rip-off Ray-Bans. No more Oakleys. No more. We'll ask Steven Cheah. He's with us. Morning, buddy. Steven? Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry. What's up, buddy? My microphone came unplugged.
Are you an Oakley guy? Like an Oakley?
Oakley's, like sunglasses?
Yeah.
No. Unless I'm wearing a football helmet, in which case Oakley visor.
Okay. Well, that's different. That's actually cool. But the glasses, I was joking about, because apparently Bill Walton there's a suspicion. We've been hearing that he's going to make his way to Indy to be a part of the broadcast now with all the Pac-12 teams that are still in the tournament.
Yep.
And I was joking about how all the replies are just dudes who wear, fitted hats backwards and wear Oakley sunglasses and have barbed wire tattoos, and they're all just they're the ones who get super shitty about somebody like Bill Walton broadcasting a game,
Baseball guys, I'm sure. I mean, I love Jared, but Jared is 100% an Oakley's guy.
Yeah, you said it, but I would have to agree with you on that. He if you didn't know him and you just saw him somewhere, screams Oakley guy.
But I mean, in fairness, he's a baseball guy. So I feel like for baseball guys, that's cool.
Okay, that's fair. I'm down with that. All right, man. So you got mock draft 3.0 dropping at what in like 30 minutes? Okay. So just before we get into it in more detail, and for the people who are getting a little sneak preview of it, 3.0. What are some things for you that have changed or that stand out a little bit more?
So in 2.0, I had Deshaun Watson getting dealt to the Broncos, or the Broncos trading for him. I feel like right now Deshaun Watson is a little bit radioactive. I don't think you're a team, like if you're dealing multiple first round picks, you can't do it with this monstrous like cloud that is around Deshaun Watson. With I think now like the list has ballooned to like 14 people that have come out. Now he's, nothing has been proven that he's been guilty. These are just accusations. And apparently his legal team has like a kind of a smoking gun that's going to discredit everyone. But on the chance that it is correct, you can't deal multiple picks, let alone first round picks, for a guy with an enormous cap number that could be on the commissioner's exempt list. So I think the whole Deshaun Watson situation is going to be put on pause. I feel like it's doubtful it'll be kind of cleared up before the draft. So I have him staying put. I have the Jets making a trade with the Seahawks and the Bears, actually a 3-team deal to send Russell Wilson to the New York Jets and the Seattle Seahawks that are going to take Zach Wilson.
Wow. That is bombshell there, man. What's the I mean, obviously all the talk and smoke has been this offseason about Russell Wilson wanting out, but I mean, what lends you to think that it's going to be something that could happen?
Just kind of reading the tea leaves as far as like different reporters. This all kind of came out with Russell Wilson at the Super Bowl, just looking like pretty unhappy. He then, story emerged in The Athletic where he suggested to the Seahawks coaching staff some changes that they could implement to help their offense, and they just kind of brushed him off, and he like stormed out of the room. And then Schefter and Rappaport both have kind of doubled down and being like, yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if Russell Wilson is traded. We look at the Seahawks. The Seahawks have like a pretty clear model. Their GM, John Schneider, he has some great hits. Like they selected Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. They got DK Metcalf in the 2nd round, like great picks. But they also whiff on a ton of guys. And they are a team that loves to accumulate picks. I mean, the fact of the matter is the draft is a 50-50 proposition. Like if you get half your picks right and they're solid players, and that's a good draft. Like if you come out of the draft with 3 starters, that is a great draft. The Seahawks have 3 picks this year. So for a team that loves volume and, knowing that they're only going to get, basically 1 to 2 guys in this draft with how they currently are stacked up, I can see them wanting more picks. And right now, the way both their division is stacked and the way their team looks, they're a team that doesn't have like an edge rusher. Chris Carson, they just re-signed, who's, an okay back that has fumbling problems. They have a good receiving core. Russell Wilson's good, but their offensive line still stinks outside of Dwayne Brown. So this is a move. I think we're really going to start to see some momentum pile up for this because Zach Wilson, the quarterback out of BYU, his pro day is Friday. And at the most recent big quarterback pro day, Trey Lance, I think there were 5 or 6 teams that were there, and one of them was the Seahawks. And the Seahawks don't have a first-round pick. So they're at least doing their due diligence and taking a look at these quarterbacks. And I think Zach Wilson is going to be a really good fit for what he can do. He's a mobile guy with a really strong arm. He has, and I don't want to get crushed for this, but he has Mahomes-like qualities. I think I put it out in a tweet that he's not if Mahomes is Steph Curry, he's like Trae Young. He can do some of those things. He's definitely not the same guy and have to fall into a perfect situation for it to work out. But I think this is a move where Seattle could look at it and kind of hit the reset button on their franchise. With the trade, Seattle would send Russell Wilson to the Jets. The Jets would send their 2nd pick, their other first rounder, which is 23 overall, a 2022 first, and a 2022 second to Seattle. The Jets would also send Sam Darnold to Chicago, and Chicago would send the number 20 overall pick to Seattle. So Seattle would then have 3 first-round picks this year, and then they would get an additional first-round pick and second-round pick next year.
Wow. So with all of that, Chicago still, all our Chicago guys still getting screwed. No, they get.
I actually think if this worked out like this, I propose, I think that actually works out for the Bears because they would move down essentially. Chicago would get the 34th overall pick. So the Jets' second rounder. So it's the second pick of that round. So the Bears would move down 14 spots, and they would get a quarterback with some promise in Sam Darnold. The Jets would obviously get to reset with Russell Wilson, and the Seahawks would get to reset with Zach Wilson. I think when we look at the quarterbacks, when Schefter put out that tweet about whatever it was, 17, 18 teams could have new quarterbacks. It's a game of musical chairs, and I think this at least fits where 3 teams could get those needs filled.
What do you say to those that scout that came out, or that front office guy that said, "Hey, Sam Darnold stinks"? You put any stock into that?
No, I mean, I'm sure there are a fair amount of people that don't think Sam Darnold is very good. He hasn't put a lot of good stuff on tape. When you look at when he came out, a lot of people viewed him as the top guy in that draft. Baker Mayfield was kind of, if you remember, like a surprise number 1 overall pick. Like it didn't really even leak till the day before, and then it was still even like kind of uncertain. So Sam Darnold was kind of the guy looked at as the guy to get in that draft. He's obviously dealt a pretty tough hand with the Jets and Adam Gase and just kind of their weapons. So if you think he still can be something, and we just had Jordan Palmer on our show a couple months ago who said, as far as tools, he's a guy with like top 5, top 10 tools from the quarterback position in the league. What's tough is like he is in the 5th-year option of his deal, so he is not necessarily a cheap player, and then you have to kind of decide whether to re-sign him. But you at least get a year where you get to evaluate him with like a reasonable number contract for a quarterback.
Did the Alabama Pro Day yesterday shift anything for you, or did it keep everything pretty much still the same?
Not a ton. I mean, Najee Harris didn't run. Devontae Smith said that he weighed 170 pounds, which is 5 pounds lighter than he was listed playing weight. It's kind of tough because he's such a good player, and he obviously won the Heisman Trophy. And a lot of it gets made that I like hate him. I don't hate him as a player. I think he's going to be like a good pro. It's just that I have always been on the statement that he's not going to be a top 10 pick just because you can't draft a guy with that physical profile in the top 10. It's too much of a risk, and the draft is really kind of about traits. You draft on traits over production. And he has a lot of production, but his traits are nowhere close to elite.
What about Mack Jones? I see a lot of smoke now that it seems like New England, everybody is just like matching up those ties there. Are we thinking him to New England at all?
I think he's an option for them. I mean, they still have to get up. You have to – Schefter put out the tweet that he says 4 quarterbacks are going in the top 6 or 7, bank on it. So – I think the most obvious trade down candidate will be the Lions. They have so many holes to fill. Obviously, with the deal with Goff and Stafford, they're looking to accumulate future first rounders. So that's a spot where you could say, okay, realistically, they would have to, you'd think, get in front of Carolina. I actually have Mack Jones going 8 to Carolina. He's going to be my first Alabama player off the board.
Wow.
A few reasons for this. There have been rumors that the Panthers really like him. They got a chance to coach him at the Senior Bowl, so they had him for a week. Now, he did sprain his ankle in the last day of practice, so they didn't get to coach him in the game, but he did have a really good week of practice. Another nugget is that Matt Rule, when he was at Baylor, actually tried to recruit Mack Jones to Baylor. And then at the Senior Bowl as well, the Panthers' new owner, David Tepper, was in attendance, which is not a normal thing. You don't see owners go to the Senior Bowl. So you'd think maybe they're trying to do a little bit more due diligence on the quarterback that they're coaching. I think he's going to be there at 8, so they wouldn't have to really trade up. And I believe the record was like 1-8 or something like that, or 1-9 in 1-score games last year. They have Teddy Bridgewater, who they're comfortable trotting out as a starter. But he doesn't have any guaranteed money beyond this year. I think this could be a great bridge year for Teddy Bridgewater and Mack Jones if they do decide to go in that direction.
Saw yesterday, not only Alabama had their pro day, but Purdue, my Boilermakers had their pro day, and Rondell Moore, really lit it up. really put on a performance physically that was impressive. Now, he did get measured at 5'7".
Yep.
That is still very small. Yeah, still short. Who is a good fit for my guy Rondell Moore? Is he, after those numbers, a surefire first rounder, or does the things about his health and his size push him more into a second or third round like value pick?
I would be surprised if he was picked before the end of the second round. And I say that because he's really a luxury player. He is a guy at his size. I mean, you don't see 5'7" guys split out. He was listed at 5'9", and I know he can squat like 600 pounds, and he's like, he ran a sub 4.3, but he hasn't been healthy in 2 seasons. Yeah. He definitely has intriguing traits with, his explosiveness and his measurables and things like that. But he's a guy who you're most likely going to have to manufacture touches for. I'm sure he can help in the return game. You can get him in on some jet sweeps and things like that. But that type of player, there's not a ton of positional value just because you will have to manufacture touches for them. He doesn't have like a super refined route tree. When he was a freshman at Purdue and he set kind of the world on fire, I mean, he was incredible, but he was healthy, and the best ability is availability, and he just really hasn't had that. So he's definitely an injury concern. To go along with his size, I think that would definitely push him down. End of the second round is where I think you could see him go. End of the second round, you're going to have teams that are a little bit more established that do maybe have less holes than teams that are picking, lower in each round. So I think that is probably the ceiling for him. I can't see a team, no matter what his numbers are, picking a 5'7" receiver in the first round that has a pretty checkered injury history.
Okay. Even with, you hear it all the time. NFL is a matchup-driven league. Like, even, you try to dream about, line him up on a linebacker with option routes, or, people like a safety, like short space type of stuff. Like, the league's kind of, really important on that. Like, everybody throws out the Tyreek Hill type of comparison. Like, even with all of that, still late second round for you?
Yeah, I understand that comparison. Tyreek Hill still is bigger. 5'7" is just so tiny. If he was like 5'9", I think that does make a fairly substantial difference. That would still be short, but it's not like unheard of short. 5'7", we're talking like MJD, I think, was 5'6". So, there aren't many guys that are tinier than that from a height perspective. Think about that. You split him out. What's his catch radius? You're really going to have to manufacture. He's going to be playing against corners that are 6 feet and above. So, I think it's tough. He's definitely going to have a speed advantage, but just you really have to kind of manufacture stuff like bubble screens, tunnel screens, smoke screens, like jet sweep stuff. I think if you can get him the ball in space on some crossers, absolutely. But at that size, with his wingspan, he's going to have a tough time if teams choose to get up on him and press him. So I think he's more of a luxury pick.
Do you remember Dree Archer?
Of course, yeah.
The
Appalachian State?
No, he was Kent State.
Kent State, yeah.
Out of the Mack. All that stuff you're saying, it kind of screams Dree Archer to me. Do you?
And he was what, like a 5th or 6th? He wasn't an early pick.
No, he wasn't. And my Steelers drafted him, and he had a lot of those similar traits, like you said. He's obviously super explosive, obviously electric, and can make things happen. But it really flamed out for him with us because of all those reasons you said. His size was just literally so underwhelming that it didn't matter how fast he was. So that kind of worries me for Rondell. And I'm a huge Rondell Moore guy, but yeah, all those things that you said, I'm like, is this Dree Archer 2.0?
Yeah, you look at him what is he going to be like? Do you transition him almost to a Darren Sproles type running back role where he's a third down back? I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to stick in the league at that size. There's no way he can play boundary X. So you put him at 0 receiver, so he's not necessarily jammed slot. But then I don't really see it.
Okay. What do you think that this month leading up, right? The Zach Wilson talk is just going to be fucking off the charts, and
until Friday,
yeah, and there's a lot of reason for that, sure. But at the end of the day, like, do you think Trevor Lawrence, the Jags have any sort of doubt in their mind that Trevor Lawrence is the pick? And then maybe even 2 years from now, we're like, why were we hyping all that up when Trevor Lawrence was obviously the pick to go with?
Yeah, I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be the clear-cut number one. He has everything you look for from like a physical profile. He has production. He's got the arm strength. He's got the leadership, character, like all this stuff. Like checks all the boxes. He can move too, so that's always a plus for a guy his size. You'd think that when Urban Meyer came to Jacksonville, he obviously has a good feel for the college game. He kind of had things in mind. So I don't think he was, signing up for Jacksonville to be like, hey, did you see what this kid out of BYU did this last season? Because before this year, Zach Wilson was on nobody's radar.
Right.
Like it wasn't even certain that he was going to start for BYU.
Right.
So yeah, I can't really see it. He obviously is going to have a lot of familiarity with Justin Fields, just being around that program. But I can't really see that either. Trevor Lawrence is, back in the day, you used to be able to negotiate contracts before the draft started. So, I remember Mario Williams had a contract in place before the day of the draft. Due to TV ratings and things I think Kyler Murray might have been the first one that or maybe even before that, but it was kind of uncertain who was going to be picked first. And they obviously want to do that for ratings and intrigue. But if there was a world where they could negotiate contracts before, I'm sure Trevor Lawrence's would be done way before April 29th.
I got to ask you about my Steelers here. You have them in Mock Draft 3.0 that's dropping on BarstoolSports.com in less than 15 minutes. I'm lucky enough for the viewers here. I have the ability within our HQ, we call it, that I can it hasn't published yet, but I can go get a sneak peek. So you have the Steelers staying at 24. They're not drafting, they're not moving up to draft their quarterback of the future. But I like this pick because I think there's been so much talk, and even from me, from an offensive line rebuild to a guy like Travis Etienne or Najee Harris at 24. You have them taking J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. He's a cornerback. Why a corner at 24 for the Steelers?
I think just overall from that position, they need to get younger. Like their best guys, Joe Hayden, Steven Nelson, who's a good player, just got released after they were trying to look for a trade for him.
Yep.
So they don't have a ton of guys on the outside. I know that a lot of Steeler faithful have been kind of smitten over Nick Bolton, who's the linebacker, to pair with Devin Bush. I actually have him go on the pick after to the Jags. So in this scenario, he is on the board and they pass on him. But I don't know. I mean, corner is just such an important position. When you look at their division, I mean, Baltimore isn't really as big of a threat on the receiving end, but Bengals have good receivers, especially if they take one early in the draft, like a Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase. They got Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins is obviously a player after year one, and then obviously the Browns. I mean, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham.
Right. Yeah, no, and that's why I like it. And I said when I looked at the Steelers mock draft kind of 1.0s right after the season ended, I was like, look, everybody's going to be talking about, lineman and running back and even quarterback. But I was like, all those reasons that you just said, I was like, corner is definitely a sneaky need. And I mean, it's not sneaky in terms of importance. Everybody knows in the NFL you need good corners. But for the Steelers, nobody was really talking about it. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if J.C. Horn or corner is called at 24 on that night. All right, let me get to a few more things. Is there any chance – I know that there's certain people – I think Cowherd said it yesterday. The Dolphins are still at number 3.
Yep.
It was a trendy thing to talk about on Twitter throughout the end of last year, that Tua not looking like the guy. Maybe they need to redo at quarterback. And since they're drafting at 3, what better chance to say, hey – we're going to go get our guy instead of Tua. Is there any chance, do you think, that the Dolphins could say, Tua time's out, we're going with a new dude at QB?
There's certainly a chance, but I think if they stick at that pick, it would be very surprising. We saw this happen with Josh Rosen in Arizona, but they had the number 1 overall pick. So theoretically, you think Trevor Lawrence is going to be gone. Zach Wilson likely gone. So you're going to have your pick of, what you would deem as the third best quarterback in the draft, or what the league is telling you. So do you really trade it all in for Justin Fields or Trey Lance, who's a project, or even like a Mack Jones? Like, I don't really see it. I think Deshaun Watson's situation changes a lot of things because Miami was on his list. It's Miami and the Jets. Yeah. So if he's kind of off the table, or at least you'd think that is for now, Tua, you had a whole tank for Tua campaign. He's played 9 games for them. Like, build up the offensive line, give him some more weapons on the outside, and see what this guy can do, because he has had really good flashes of brilliance. The last game against Buffalo where he has 3 picks, that's not what you want to see, but he's a young quarterback. You got to stick by him. He's shown some promise. I would build the offensive line. I don't know how you they drafted Austin Jackson last year, who's a little bit of a reach. They got Robert Hunt playing right tackle right now. He played guard in college. What makes you think he's going to kick out to tackle in the pros? I think if you got a guy like Penei Sewell there sitting there from Oregon, who opted out this year, but is if he came out last year, would have made a big 5 tackles instead of big 4. I think that's a position you need to address if you have an injury-plagued quarterback who's also small, who you're looking to develop. I think that's probably the best move. So I'd be hard-pressed to see them not going there. Like, I can't see them taking – Jamar Chase is awesome. I can't see them taking a receiver at 3. Like, receivers just don't get picked that high. And if they do, they're absolute freak shows, like an Andre Johnson or Calvin Johnson. Like, Jamar Chase is going to run probably mid-4.5s.
Right.
I don't see it.
Okay. All right. Coming up, less than 10 minutes. I know you're going to be pumping it out. We will as well. Steven Cheah's NFL Mock Draft 3.0 on BarstoolSports.com. You can go with the entire first round. He's got all the reasonings and everything.
3,500 plus words.
3,500 plus words. First round Mock Draft 3.0 coming out. And then also we have Going Deep, a great episode that dropped yesterday. With Ross Tucker, that's now live. So if you guys need some really, really fun NFL stories, great insight from behind the scenes, you got to check out Going Deep this week with Ross Tucker. So
his stories were incredible. Cowboys charging $100 a week for lunch.
Come on. Steven, thanks for waking up with me, dude. Looking forward to having everybody read your work out there today.
Cool. Anytime, buddy. If you guys are taking a dump today, Mock Draft 3.0, no better reading for the can.
No better reading for the can. I like it. Put it on a shirt. That's Steven Cheah. That was great, dude. See, I told you from the start. I said that's why I love to have Steven on, especially for something like this, with his expertise. The man just knows. He's not just like me, who I'm a diehard football fan, and I like to joke about it and talk about it and root for it. Steven watches. Like, he watches differently than we all watch, and he knows, he has the reasonings right off the bat. I mean, he just said that he thinks that we're going to see a blockbuster, huge, monumental trade, sending Russell Wilson to New York, sending the Jets' second overall pick to Seattle, Zach Wilson going to the Seahawks, Sam Darnold going to Chicago. I mean, where else have you heard that? But he had good reasoning for it. So that's coming out 10 a.m. 10 a.m., Mock Draft 3.0, Steven Cheah. Got to check it out. I know I will be, even though we just previewed it and I've already seen it, but it's still great to look at. And it's mock draft season, man. Everybody wants some more mock drafts. You can never have enough. So you got that coming up. And like I said, Ross Tucker on today's Going Deep. You can find it on YouTube, Going Deep. We're on TikTok, Going Deep NFL. And that show's live for damn near an hour. We're talking with Ross Tucker from his NFL network of podcasts. Just about all his playing days, him coming up at Princeton with Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football. Really, really entertaining, must listen and watch stuff right there. So, yeah, we're going to finish up because Steven hopped on, but I was talking about the Cinnamon Toast Crunch Shrimp Tails controversy. And it got me thinking that, what are some of those things that you love to eat, but you really shouldn't ever? And it's really, really awful for you because I'm still going to be eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I've been a Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy my entire life. I'll continue to be a Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy. I don't care if there's shrimp tails in one box. It's delicious. It's a perfect morning treat, and it's good at all times of the day. Me and my father-in-law talk about I could eat cereal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that or PB&J every single day. I'm good to go. Right? Simple, easy, bada boom, no problem. But some of the things right off the top that I thought about that I love to eat, but I know that I shouldn't, and yeah, I'm sure you'll agree with some of these, but a McDouble from McDonald's. I can be okay with a McChicken. I can be okay with a Big Mac. It doesn't really bother me. But anytime that I'm like, man, you know what? I'm just feeling a McDouble. I'm gonna break one of those out. It's really hard for me to even like look at it before I eat it. I love the taste of it, and I love to down them, you know, especially after a long night or especially during the long night. But if there's ever a time that you're like, yeah, you know what, we're gonna run to McDonald's, like you're on a road trip for vacation. All right, give me a McChicken and a McDouble. Man, you see that wrapper, you open up the wrapper, it's all sloppy and has ketchup and shit all over it, and then you're like, ah, God, this is just terrible. And that's where you just got to start munching, because if you start thinking about it too much, then you're going to want to puke, and then you're not going to eat it. I don't know why the comments aren't working right now. I'm pissed. It's not eat, but I mean, you're consuming it. Coca-Cola. I'm a huge Coca-Cola fan. It's like in my blood. Like my mom loves it. You know, like a fountain Coke, fountain pop, you know, from like a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's, or, you know, there's certain places that they're just so good. But if I have too many, or if I'm drinking it, I'm like, yeah, I know this is legitimately rotting the inside of my, you know, my insides right now. Like my stomach is just, you know, getting eaten away at by acid because of the Coca-Cola. But you know what? It tastes so good, and it makes me happy. And so I keep doing it. White Castle sliders. Kind of on the same page here as McDonald's McDoubles. Not as bad because they're so little and they're covered by so much of the soggy bread that you don't even really think about like whatever that meat is inside of there. But I mean, one thing that makes you feel better about White Castle is that pretty regularly they like get voted the cleanest kitchen for fast food joints. You know, after the inspections. I don't know though. Actually, I think I just like read that or saw that. I don't know, probably like 8 years ago, and I've just been running with it ever since. You know, anytime somebody shits on White Castle, or like my wife doesn't want it, I'm like, they do have the cleanest kitchen though. So I know the food may sound gross to you, but it tastes really good, and their kitchen's the cleanest. From a report that I saw on Facebook in 2012. Things you love to eat, but you know you shouldn't. Pop-Tarts. Apparently Pop-Tarts are like one of the worst things that you could ever eat. Just like so much sugar and processed whatever. But I mean, who's not eating Pop-Tarts? You're crazy if you're not eating Pop-Tarts. Dude, cinnamon. So I have a weird, like, I can eat the cinnamon Pop-Tarts either cold or hot, but I have to have strawberry Pop-Tarts hot. I can eat s'mores Pop-Tarts both, you know, just out of the wrapper or toasted. But for whatever reason, the strawberry, I gotta have it in the toaster. The cold strawberry stuff on the inside, when it's just out of the wrapper and not toasted, doesn't do it for me. It does not do it for me. Yeah, it's crazy how bad Pop-Tarts are for you. It's really depressing, actually, because you're like, oh, I ate that every morning as a kid before school because I was like, oh, I'm getting breakfast in me. Like, you know, it's better than eating nothing. Apparently, it's not true. You should eat nothing instead of eating Pop-Tarts, but you still love them, so you're going to eat them. I've actually gotten to the point with Taco Bell that, like, I'm finally at that point. You know, Taco Bell is such a guilty pleasure for so many people, but not for me, man. I've reached to where I can't even look at it. Like, there's no way I will eat Taco Bell. I can't. And people think I'm crazy, and you know, basically all my friends and my wife are just like, oh, Taco Bell. Give me some Taco Bell. Are you kidding me? Cheesy, crunchy gordita. And on Going Deep, we talked to Matt Judon, and that he's body built by Taco Bell. Steven Cheah, he was just on. That's his favorite fast food is Taco Bell. I'm like, dude, you're better off dumping hot water into your dog's food bowl and then just getting down on all fours and munching that up rather than eating Taco Bell. It's one of those things I just can't do. Can't do it, man. Well, for whatever reason, the comments aren't working on here right now. So I appreciate you guys waking up with me again. Steven Cheah was great. All these will be back up on the channel. They live here. The full show lives here now. We'll have the Steven Cheah interview back up on the channel here shortly. Subscribe. Daily show, 9 to 10 a.m. Like these videos. Let's keep growing the channel. Don't forget to get your Cup of Joey dad hat, Cup of Joey mug. I've had a few people message me, send me the pictures. They're loving it. Watching it every morning and waking up with me with their morning Joey. So get those. Like I said, subscribe to the channel. A lot of exciting things coming. I got a really, really fun guest tomorrow that I'm really, really pumped about. That I'll be promoting later tonight. But thank you so much for being with me today. Have a great Wednesday. I'll talk to you tomorrow live at 9.